I'm Allison from Learning at the Primary Pond. I'm a literacy specialist, and in this video, I'm going to explain how to teach R-controlled, or sometimes called R-influenced vowels. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure to do that now, and then also hit the little bell so that you don't miss out on any of the brand new videos that I post about teaching literacy in K2. Okay, so let's talk R-controlled vowels. What are they? Well, as you may already know, R-controlled vowels are vowels whose sounds are influenced or controlled by the letter R that appears after them. So for example, AR in the word star. The sounds in star are st, R, right? That R sound is represented by AR. Therefore, that sound is controlled by the letter R. Another example is another example is the pattern ER, like in the word her, or the letters AIR, like in the word chair. Let me know in the comments what grade you teach and if you teach any or some of these R-controlled vowel sounds. All right, so let's talk about the different R-controlled vowels, and I'm going to talk about them in the order that I teach them. This order represents what developmental spelling research indicates on like the order that these skills are mastered by students. So let's start with AR and OR. These two patterns are, developmentally speaking, the easiest of the R-controlled vowels. They are the first ones that students tend to learn, and I typically am teaching these in first grade. However, I want to make sure that my students understand short vowels before I teach AR and OR. And the reason for this is because if they don't have a good understanding of like short A can represent short A is the A sound, then they're not really going to understand how that sound of A is changed, like in the word star, right? So those are the two, AR and OR, that I teach first, okay? Reading words with those patterns and spelling words with those patterns. I'll talk about how I actually teach them in a little bit here. But you can also include, when you're teaching these patterns for the first time, you can teach ER, IR, and UR. The tricky thing is that ER, IR, and UR can represent the same sound, like in the word, well, we've got her, right? We've got stir, STIR, and then we've got blur, BLUR. They all have the sound, and yet they're spelled by different patterns, ER, IR, and UR. So that's a little tricky. So at this point, when you're teaching AR and OR, you may want to teach your students how to read words with ER, IR, and UR, but my expectation is not that they know how to spell them yet, because it's a matter of learning quite a few words that have ER, IR, and UR in them, because they all represent the same sound. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm teaching AR and OR for reading and spelling mastery, ER, IR, and UR really just for reading mastery at this point, and I'll come back to them later in the sequence. Okay, so let's talk about how you might actually teach AR and OR. I begin with AR because it is the pirate sound, so super fun R, right? Fun way to introduce it. You could get a prop like a pirate hat. If you want to go bananas, you could turn the whole classroom into a pirate ship and like rearrange the tables, whatever you want to do. Even just telling kids that it's the pirate sound can make it fun, right? So when I'm working on AR with my students, I am going to explain the pattern. This is, the AR, and it's special because the A doesn't represent the normal short A sound, when the R comes after it. That bossy R controls the sound of the A, and together the A and the R say R. Okay, so I explain that to them, and then I will also have them compare and contrast some words. So like, for example, you might have the word tap, right? And then contrast that with the word tarp. They will notice with your help that in tap, the A is saying ah, and in tarp, there is no ah sound. It's just the R sound represented by the A and the R. So comparing and contrasting some examples can be really helpful. I also, of course, have the kids read different words. I'd have these like cut out, or you could display it on the smart board. Read different words that have AR, and you really want to have them like say each sound individually. So instead of just having them like shout out the word, like in scarf, you'd want to have them say scarf, scarf. And you can ask them which two letters are working together to represent the R sound That's A and R, okay? So reading examples of AR words, building examples of AR words with magnetic letters. So choose some like of the more common AR words that they would, need to spell. Practically speaking, have them build them with magnetic letters. And then throughout the week, you wouldn't necessarily do all this in one day, but have them read some decodable text with AR, have them do a word sort where they're cutting out cards, and some of them have the short A sound and some of them have the R-controlled A in them, so they're comparing and contrasting them. Have them play some games. Again, a pirate theme is super fun. So they're getting multiple opportunities to work with AR. And when it comes to teaching OR, you can follow a similar practice where you're introducing the pattern, compare and contrast some words with OR and short O, have them read some words with OR, have them build some words, write some words on whiteboards with OR, have them play games, read decodable texts, do sorts. All of these materials, by the way, are from Sounds to Spelling, my phonics program. But so you kind of follow that same pattern as you're teaching OR. And again, at that time, you can introduce ER, IR, and UR and teach them how to read words. However, just know that developmentally speaking, when kids are working on AR and OR, they typically are not yet ready to master spelling words with ER, IR, and UR. That tends to come later. Okay, so again, all of this would typically take place in first grade, although you may need to review in future grades. And then after they've mastered those like basic R-controlled vowels, then typically in second grade, it might not be third grade till some of your kids are ready for it, but typically in second grade, we are going to work on some more advanced versions of the R-controlled vowels. So we'll review AR, OR, IR, ER, IR, UR. I think I said those out of order. We'll review those for sure, but there are some other ones that we want to look at. One of them is AR consonant E. Okay, and in this pattern, you're going to see words that have this pattern include words like carve. It's AR, a consonant, the letter V in this case, and then the E. So AR, a consonant, and E. And the AR consonant E is going to say R, just like the AR on its own. You might also work on ARE. Sounds similar, right? But it's not the same because there's no consonant here. So think about the word dare. The sounds are d, air, or you might hear d, a, er, but it's easier to hear d, air. Okay, so ARE, no consonant in between, says a different sound, and that R-controlled pattern can say air, like in dare. Okay, another one that says air is AIR, like in the word chair. Another one, or rather, that's all for the R-controlled A. Of course, you've got your basic AR that I review in the mix there. And then moving on to R-controlled E, we've got a couple ones here too. Number one, we have EAR, like in the word clear. Number two, we have EER, like in the word peer. Again, it's ear in both cases. We also then, of course, are going to work on just ER, like in the word her. So we're working on reading and spelling words because, again, this is not all when we're working on AR and OR. This comes later, second grade, third grade. All right, so let's move on now to R-controlled vowels with I. Of course, we're working on IR, reading and spelling words, but there's also IRE, like in higher, ire. We also have IER, like in pliers, again, ire, okay? And of course, regular IR. Next up, we have R-controlled O. There's a lot of these, right? There's probably more than you ever expected or knew. There's regular OR, but then when we have ORE, like in the word soar, we're saying or here. Now, when we have OAR, we're also saying or, like in the word bore. Okay, next up, we have URE, of course, the basic UR, but URE, like in pure. And then we also have UR consonant E with a consonant in there, like in nurse. So in URE, it's saying more like your. And then in UR consonant E, it's saying like in nurse. Okay? URE can also be a little bit tricky because sure, remember how sure would normally be S, just like sir, but with the S, the sound turns into SH, sure. So URE can be a little bit tricky and it's, that sound is pronounced differently depending on the word. All right, so that was a lot of R-controlled patterns, I know. if this seems like a lot to you, you might want to list, right? So I actually, two things. Number one, I have a list of patterns that you might teach. It's in the scope and sequence for my phonics program, From Sounds to Spelling. You can go to the link in the caption and look for like free trial and look for the scope and sequence, because I do list out which patterns I teach and when in the sequence and when in the school year. So you might want to look for that. And then also, like, everything you saw here is from Sounds to Spelling. From Sounds to Spelling is a super teacher-friendly, easy to follow program. It covers phonics, high frequency words, spelling, and I've got it for kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. So again, you can go to FromSoundsToSpelling.com to check it out. I'll include a link with this caption. You can also check out that there's like a little free button. That's why I keep pointing up here, to grab a free week and look at the scope and sequence and see all of these R-controlled patterns in one place. All right, I know this was a lot of information. I hope it was helpful. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.